What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Seeking Sister Wife, Season 6, Episode 5. This is my wife, and our girlfriend. Let's start off with the Maryfield. So Lorena starts off by telling us that it was very awkward for her to spend her first night with Garrick in America. I don't know if they slept together when they were visiting her, when they would meet up I think they would meet up in Jamaica. I don't know if they actually went to Brazil to spend time with her, but I don't know if this is the very first time that her and Garrick have had sex or if they've had sex before in their previous meetups outside of the United States. But she did say that spending the night with Garrick for the first time in his bedroom, it was weird for her because Danielle was right down the hall. And also because this is the room that he has shared with Danielle for many, many years. Danielle also said that she struggled spending the night without Garrick because I think she said this was her first night in their home that she has ever spent away from Garrick. So she also struggled a lot. And I guess, all of this was a bit much for her, but y'all signed up for this. So I don't know what to tell you. The Merrifield's son, Solomon, had built a mountain bike for Lorena. And so when he presented the bike to her, she was so excited. She was so grateful. She gave him a hug. She was very appreciative that, their son would do something like this for her. So the purpose of the mountain bike, Garrett tells us, is that he wants to take Lorena out bike riding so that she could see more of the town that they live in and that they could also spend quality time together. And that's exactly what they end up doing. He does take her for a bike ride. Danielle was left at home alone, struggling. And Danielle is telling us that her fear is being the third wheel. So while Garrick and Lorena are out bike riding, Dani tells us that, wow, it kind of dawned on her, or finally, like, it was real to her that y'all have another person living with y'all, that y'all's dynamic has completely changed. It's not just you and Garrick and the kids anymore. There's someone else that he has to devote his time and attention to. And so when she was home in the house without Garrick, she said like that's when it finally like it hit her that yeah, she's in a polygamous relationship now and she has to share her husband. And it felt really strange for her to be home by herself like this. And like I said, she doesn't want to become the third wheel. She doesn't want to feel like that she's going to be the third wheel. Now, the strange thing is, when I watched their journey with Roberta and when I watched their journey with Natalia, Danielle looked very much every bit like the third wheel. She really did. But I guess in the beginning of a new relationship, Garrick has to give extra attention to the newcomer, and Danielle is going to be kind of like pushed to the side. So, but every single time that there's a new woman in their lives, Danielle does come across as being the third wheel, even with Lorena to a certain point. So, Dani very much okay. So after the bike riding, Garrick and Lorena had a cute little picnic. It looked like they're having a really fun time. Y'all, when I see Garrick with Lorena, he seems to be really enjoying himself. I think Lorena is really attractive. I think she's very pretty. She's very cute. I think she's bubbly. I think that, she is showing Garrick that she's attracted to him, that she's enjoying him. And every time I see them together, I think it's really adorable. It seems like he's having fun with her. Of course, in the back of my mind, I still see this as I don't want to say grooming because that's a very heavy word. I don't think they have any ill intentions for Lorena, but I just see someone who is trying to, I feel like Garrick is trying to mold her into something that he wants her to be. I don't know. That's just how I feel. I don't know if they're going to allow Lorena to really be who she is or if Garrick is going to like want to change her or mold her into something else. I don't know. But that is still in the back of my mind, even as I'm watching them like having a good time together. At the picnic, Lorena said that she thought everything was really beautiful and romantic. And Garrick tells us that if Lorena were to leave them, that he would be totally devastated. Okay, moving on from there. The next scene that we have with the Maryfields is that they are having a family meeting. And so they're all sitting around the dinner table, and it's just Garrick and his two women. And they are going to talk about, I thought they were going to talk about some serious things like, do they expect her to work when she gets her papers, her immigration status? Are they going to expect her to work? If so, how much is she supposed to contribute? Are they going to talk about household chores? Who's expected to do what? That's what I thought it was going to be about. And of course, I mean, they're going to talk about the whole sleep schedule. Like, how often will he be with each woman? Will it be like every other night, every 3 nights, once a week, or whatever? But all they talked about really was changing the damn bed sheets. So if he is with the women every other night, like if they take their turns every other night with him, the women were saying that this is going to be a lot of washing of the sheets, a lot of laundry to do, because after every use with a different woman, the bed sheets have to be washed. So they kind of suggested, well, what if it's like every 3 nights, so they don't have to wash as much bed sheets or as much laundry, et cetera, et cetera. So while discussing the whole sleep rotation, Danielle unnecessarily like touches Garrick's hair. Like she pretends like she's brushing his hair out of his eye or something, which it wasn't necessary because his hair is gelled up. So it wasn't like, his hair was falling in his eyes or anything like that, or his hair was out of place. But she felt the need to touch his hair. And remember how she had just told us how she felt like she was in fear of being a third wheel and she didn't want to feel left out. So when she made this little slight movement by touching his hair, in my mind, I feel like she was sending a message to Lorena when she was showing this little act of intimacy. Like she was reminding Lorena that, hey, me and Garrick, we have a history. We're married. No, well, we used to be married. We have a history. I was the first wife. Uh, we have a very strong bond that's not going to be broken by anybody. And nothing between me and Garrick is going to change. That's what I read in that one little slight movement that she did. I think she was speaking very loudly to Lorena that don't get it twisted. Okay, I'm his number one, and the two of y'all will never have what me and him have. I probably was putting 20 on 10, reading way too much into that, but that's what I interpreted. So while Lorena was talking, because Lorena is still going on with the meeting and giving her thoughts and opinions on things, so she's talking into the phone translator, right? And so, or the translator app. So she's talking into that, and while she's doing this, while she's talking to the both of them, Danielle is having like a side conversation with Garrick on purpose. All of this was done on purpose because your girl Danielle is extremely insecure. There's this beautiful, hot young woman who's gotten her husband turned upside down, and she knows that her husband is very attracted to Lorena because who can't see that? And so it was just like everything was planned and manipulated to make Lorena feel some kind of way, to make her feel excluded, to make her feel left out, to make her feel intimidated. So she's having this private side conversation. Her and Garrick are giggling while Lorena is trying to conduct, not conduct, but trying to push through with this meeting. So they were completely ignoring her. And I was like, Dani, your insecurity is showing. Your insecurity is showing, girl. Please play it cool, calm, and collected. Don't act like you're bothered by this young girl. We know that you are, but don't show it. Don't act like it. So Lorena tells them that, in so many words, I know she didn't come right out and say, hey, y'all are being rude by speaking in English and I'm not included in the conversation. But she did let them know that she felt uncomfortable because she felt excluded. And she told them, like, I would like to be included in what the hell y'all are talking about. Because anytime that she's speaking to either one of them, both of them have to be included because she can't speak English, right? So she has to use a translator. So them having a side conversation in English did leave her out. And she told them so. She told them that she felt some kind of way about it. So in their confessional, Garrick tells us, it wasn't really intentional. We didn't want to make her feel left out, but there is this language barrier situation going on. And Dani says, well, as long as she's not able to speak English, there's always going to be moments like this where she feels left out. But hey, let's not forget, Dani, that y'all invited her. into your home, into your country. Y'all were trying to get her to come over here. Y'all were looking for a sister wife. She wasn't looking for y'all. Y'all were looking for her. Okay. And y'all brought her over here. So it is not right. And it is very, very rude to bring someone into your household to pretend like you want them included in your family, but y'all are having these side conversations, these private conversations strictly between the two of you, and making her feel completely left out. Dani was very intentional in what she was doing. So Dani probably thinks that these little gestures are going to intimidate Lorena, and it's going to, like, I don't know, keep this closeness between her and Garrick, which she doesn't have to worry about that. Y'all have been married for 18 years. Y'all have 3 children together. You have a home together. Nothing is going to break that bond unless the two of you want to break that bond. But her little manipulation tactics are only going to drive Garrick closer to Lorena. She thinks it's going to cause some type of distance between them, but it's only going to drive Garrick closer to Lorena, because right after that, after Lorena expressed how she was feeling left out, Garrick felt bad. And so he started like rubbing on her arm, trying to make her feel better. And there's going to be a lot more of that. Okay. There's going to be a lot more of that. So you're trying to make her feel jealous by touching his hair. But Dani, how did you feel when he reached out to touch her? She didn't have to touch him. You did. You had to reach out and touch your own husband, right? To claim your territory. He reached out and touched her to comfort her, to make her feel better. So, I bet you, and one other thing before I move on. Dani, you talked about, oh, this because of this language barrier, she's always going to feel left out. Is there a language barrier in that bedroom when it's her turn with Garrick, when it's her turn with your husband? Is there a language barrier there? Do you think they have a problem communicating at night? So, yeah, I didn't like how Dani was moving. I thought she was being very mean girl. I thought she was being very immature, and I thought she was being extremely insecure. And she was showing all of her insecurities in that one little moment, that one little gesture that she did. She was showing all of her insecurities. Moving on to the Davis family. Y'all, why does Nick give me pimp vibes? I don't understand. Every time I see this man with his women, I just get he just comes across like a pimp. I don't know. Anyways, so Nick takes his harem out to dinner. All 4 of them go out to dinner together. And as they're getting into the car, we see April getting into the driver's seat. And April tells us, April or Jennifer, one of them, tells us that, oh, why does, because Nick said, I don't drive. And one of the other women says, yeah, why does the king have to drive when, we can take him wherever he needs to go? There's something that I really want to say and get off my chest, but I don't want it to come off wrong. But I'm going to have to say it because I've been wanting to say this since the first time I ever saw Nick and Jennifer and April together. I've been wanting to say this, but I've been holding it back, and maybe I should continue to hold it back. But y'all, I feel like, okay, I feel like Nick wants to be around women that he can easily control. And that just shows weakness in a man if he has to be around women that he can control. So someone told me that he's a disabled vet and that's why he doesn't work. But why doesn't he drive? And they made it seem as if he never drives. But why not? Does he have a, and what's wrong with explaining that on the show? What's wrong with saying, y'all, hey, I don't work because I'm a disabled vet. Okay, but I still contribute financially because I'm getting VA benefits. Or I don't drive because PTSD, or I was injured, or I can't drive. What is wrong with explaining that? Why do they want to give this illusion that he's just this man sitting pretty, doesn't have to lift a finger, doesn't have to do anything because all his women want to do it for him? Maybe that's the storyline that the producers want to go with. That's the impression that the producers want to give regarding these people. So maybe that's what it is. The producers sat down with them and they're like, hey, Nick, we know that you contribute a lot to your household. We know that you can drive. We understand all of that, but we want you to look like this, pimp daddy who doesn't have to do anything because your women are running around, scrambling to do everything for you, and you're like the king of your household. That's what we're gonna go with. Maybe that's what it is, y'all. Maybe that's what it is. But if it's not that, and if this is how they really are, I have a feeling that maybe Nick is choosing Caucasian women because he thinks, not me thinking this, but I'm just theorizing, maybe because he thinks, as a black man, he thinks that it's easier to control and manipulate white women than it would be black women. There are black women who can be controlled and manipulated and who will call their men king all day and all night. And they'll be like, yes, sir, no, sir, you're my king, your highness, or whatever. And they'll bow down to their husbands and their boyfriends and do the whole shebang. They'll do the whole 9 yards. There are plenty of black women that will do that. But I don't think Nick knows that. I don't think he understands that. If he just has a preference for white women, more power to him if that's just his preference. But sometimes it comes across to me that he thinks that, I have to associate with white women because they're easier to control. And I have to be the kind of man who can keep his women in line and have my women, bow down to me, look up to me, see me as their leader, listen to what I say, do as I say. That's the impression that Nick gives. I don't believe that because I think women of all races can be controlled, want to be controlled by their men. They come in all shades, all races, all ethnicities, all backgrounds. It's not, I don't think it's just white women that are like that. And I don't think it's just white women with black men that are like that. But I think Nick thinks that, it's easier to control white women than it would be black women because that whole thing about, oh, why does the king have to drive when we can take him in? I don't know, y'all. Anywho, so at the restaurant, after they're seated, in the background, there was a person, like a staff member, with their phone out, like taking a picture of them. And I understand that as these people go to different places out in the public, they will probably do run into a ton of fans who want to stop and stare and gawk and look and ask to take pictures and whatnot. And I know that the producers cut all of that out. So I was surprised that they left that one scene in where there was that staff member in the back, taking a picture of them from behind, but whatever. So once they're seated, he looks at April and who was sitting right next to him, and he's like, "Oh my God, April, you look so beautiful tonight." And he gives her a kiss. And then he looks down at Jennifer, who was sitting on the other side of April, and he was like, "Jennifer, I wish I could kiss you." No, he says, "Even though you're too far away, I still want to give you a kiss." So she gives him her hand and he kisses her hand. And then it got crazy awkward because Teresa, who's sitting on his other side, is just kind of like sitting there after he just kissed April and Jennifer. So I guess he felt the awkwardness of it all because he turned to Teresa and he gave her like a little throwaway kiss, like a consolation prize kiss. I was like, what is going on here? Why is it so hard for him to include Teresa? Something about Teresa really irks Nick. And it's more than just the fact that he doesn't have romantic feelings for her, that he only has friend vibes for her. It's more than just that. Something about that woman really irks him because, like I said, Nick likes to be with women that he feels like he can control. But I think he also, well, we'll get to that later. So, okay, blah blah blah. He kissed them, blah blah blah. So the chef, they were like at a Benihana type of restaurant, and so the chef, before the chef got started with theatrics of cooking the food, he asked them, "What is the special occasion, or what are they celebrating tonight?" That's all he asked them. He didn't ask, "Well, who are you and who are all these women to you?" He just said, "What are we celebrating tonight?" Because he sees this group of people, and Nick says, "Oh, this is my wife, and this is my other wife, and this is our girlfriend." And I'm like, Nick, did nobody ask all that? They have a habit of doing this all the time. Like when they went to the alpaca farm, like very unnecessarily talking about what they are to each other. They did this last season, or whatever season it was, when Jennifer was still pregnant with Vera. They were at a boutique buying stuff for the baby, and I think the clerk just asked them like a simple question, like, or some, I don't know what they asked with the clerk. It was a very innocent. They would have asked anybody, and then Nick, well, this is my wife, and this is my wife. Don't nobody care. Nobody's asking. People are not going to ask what's going on here because it would be very rude and awkward to ask people that question when you see a man and several women. No one in their right mind is going to be like, "Hey, what the hell's going on here? Who are you and who are you and what are y'all to him?" No one's going to be asking that, but they feel the need to tell it. Nobody cares. So after he does that unnecessary explanation, um, Professor Nick enters the chat because Nick used to tell us all the time that he stays home while the women are working. And before they had Vera, he would stay home and read all day. Okay, just read a whole bunch of books. So Professor Nick has entered the chat and he wants to give them a lesson on entropy. And I think he said entropy is when there's no order and no organization. And so the highest level of entropy causes the highest level of disorganization and chaos or something. I think that's what he said. I'm not really sure what entropy means. So after he gives them this short little lesson, April jumps in and she starts talking about how basically Teresa is moving too fast. In so many words, they didn't come right out and say this. I'm definitely paraphrasing, but this was all directed to Teresa. So that Nick, Jennifer, and April had gotten together and they're like, hey, we need to have a discussion with Teresa and let her know that she's trying too hard and moving too damn fast to try to be included in this family. So we need to let her know to slow down and back up a little bit. So April talks about how, she's moving too fast and trying too hard. Like I said, she didn't use those exact words. I'm paraphrasing, but it was within that sentiment. And Teresa is, did I say April or did I say Teresa? Teresa is definitely coming on way too strong. Okay. And after what they dealt with Danielle, because Danielle in the beginning was like an eager little puppy and she just couldn't wait. And, she loved Nick so much and wanted to make Nick happy and all of that didn't work out. So they're seeing, like some similarities between Teresa and Danielle, because at the end of the day, Danielle ended up flying the coop because she didn't want them to add any more wives. So they see this in Teresa where she's kind of like trying too hard. So they really need her because she talked about how she wanted to get married to someone else because April and Jennifer are legally married to each other. Because remember, Nick doesn't want to marry any of these women. And so to prove her loyalty to them, she wants to marry somebody else, which would mean that they would have to bring someone else into the group. And they don't want to hear that because they want to be the ones to decide if they should add another and who that other should be. That's not Teresa's decision to make. They need her to stay in her place because there's definitely a hierarchy and a pecking order in the Davis family. So they don't like that. And they're trying to let her know to relax, calm down, and back off. And we make the decisions in this group. So she's very eager to prove herself to Nick. And she's really trying to prove that she's worthy and that, she should be included, that she should officially be a sister wife to them. And I think all of this eagerness and desperation is turning Nick off. I think it's turning him off. So later on that night, back at home, Nick and Teresa are in the living room and they're having a very private conversation. And it starts off with Teresa talking about how she used to be a rapper. So she shows us some of her rapping skills. And y'all, I was just distracted by the black scent. So I don't know if she's got skills or not. Nick tells her that he's still struggling with turning his feelings from friendship to romantic. He's still struggling with that because they have been friends for so long. So, and I have a feeling they were just internet friends. I don't think they were real life friends. I think that, she's probably one of those people that was always on their social media pages, constantly commenting and just being very present in the comment section. And she was developing a very parasocial relationship with them that maybe he was like, okay, yeah, I guess she's my friend. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what their history is, but I don't know if they were like friends in real life or just friends online. So he tells her he's really struggling with turning his feelings into romantic feelings for her. And I think at one point she even acted like she was going to start crying because she's like, I don't know, like she doesn't want him to struggle. She wants it to come naturally for him, but she also wants him to understand that she's the right pick for this family. And I think because she was showing so much fragility and vulnerability, he didn't want to make her feel bad. So he was like, okay, well, I'm gonna just keep trying. We'll just keep trying at this. But I think he probably really wanted to tell her to hit the road, Jack, pack your stuff up and leave because we're not interested. But because she's so fragile and so, oh, I love you so much, Nick. And oh my God, Nick, he was just like, okay, yeah, let's just keep trying. I don't know what to tell you. Let's just keep trying, I guess. Moving on to Peralta. The Peraltas, Yesel and Dani. So we are still at the restaurant with Jackie, Yesel, and Dani. And we're at that part where what's her name? Jackie had just asked Dani if it's okay for her to sleep with Yesel. Like, how would she feel about that? And Dani starts doing this double talk where she says, I can't. I'm certain that that's going to happen, but I'm just not certain how I feel about it happening. Whatever she said, it was very conflicting and confusing. Whatever answer that she gave, basically, no, she's not comfortable with it, not at all. And Dani says that they'll cross that bridge when they get there. And if she does experience any kind of jealousy, then they can all try to work it out together. Yesel tells Dani in their confessional that sex is going to be a big part of his relationship with the sister wife, whoever that might be, whether it's Jackie or somebody else, that's going to be taking place. And in the confessional, Dani says that she knows it's going to happen. She's accepted that it's going to happen, but she just doesn't know how she's going to process her feelings about it. So you don't want it to happen, right? I mean, if you know it's going to happen, because I'm thinking that if y'all are at that stage where y'all are looking for a sister wife and it was her idea to find the sister wife, right? And I have my thoughts on that. I think she wanted to get a sister wife because maybe Yes was a cheater. And she's like, you might as well do it, in front of me or with me instead of behind my back. I don't know. This is also a very weird dynamic to me. So for her to be like, well, I'm just trying to process my feelings. I don't know I'm going to process my feelings about you sleeping with someone. Like, why weren't those feelings already processed when you brought up the whole idea of getting a sister wife? Were you wanting a sister wife, Dani, because you just want like a maid or a nanny, someone to help around the house and that's it? Or were you wanting a sister wife with the understanding of what a sister wife is and what it means? That both of you are going to be a wife to your husband. They're going to be considered a couple as well. And they're going to have marital relations as well. Like, I don't understand why you're confused and why you're struggling with this, Dani. So Dani says, okay, well, black girl. Okay. So, and basically, like I put girl, you don't want nobody to sleep with your man. Basically, she's jealous. She doesn't want nobody sleeping with Yesel. Yesel asks Jackie if it's possible for her to wait when it comes to intimacy. And what option does she have but to say yes? I mean, what is she going to say? No, I need you right now. I need you tonight. And to hell with what your wife thinks. Of course, she's going to say yes. She's going to wait. So when Yesel goes to the bathroom, Jackie and Dani have a conversation and they talk about children. And we know that Jackie already has a child. And we know that Dani said that she's okay with the sister wife who comes into their family with a child. She's okay with that, or with children. She's okay with that. What she doesn't want is for the sister wife to have a biological child with Yesel. So Jackie tells her, I would like to have more children. And at that point, I'm thinking this would have been a great time for Dani to say, well, yeah, well, then it's not going to happen, sister, because I'm not willing for any woman to have a child with my husband. But she didn't say that at that point, of course, because it's a show and they have to drag it all out so it can last the whole season. I get it. So her and Yes will have a conversation about this in their confessional, and Dani is like, it's non-negotiable. I don't want anyone else to have children with you. That's just not going to happen. It's a non-negotiable for me. But they still continue to see Jackie. Jackie has expressed that she wants children. Dani has expressed that she doesn't want another sister wife to have children with Yesel. So I'm thinking like now we're at a crossroads, but they're going to continue to see her because the next time that we see them, they have invited her to go out for drinks because they want to introduce her to the mother of Yesel's oldest child, Leah. They want to introduce her to Leah because their son spends a lot of time with Yesel and Dani. And if Jackie is going to be, not Jackie, yeah, if Jackie's going to be a part of this situation, she's going to be around the child as well. So Leah wants to vet Jackie and make sure that she's comfortable with Jackie before Jackie even meets her son, the son that she has with Yesel. And that's where we end with them. Moving on to Matt and Anjelica. Okay, one of my commenters, and I forgot what your name is, sweetheart. I'm so sorry. But one of my commenters had commented in my last week review of Seeking Sister Wife. They had commented that Anjelica looks extremely young, and I agree. She looks really, really young. I don't remember how old she is. I'm pretty sure she's probably in her late 20s, early 30s, somewhere around there. But there's something about her that just gives young girl. Anyway, let's move on. So Shanae has ghosted them. Matt tells Anjelica that he's tried to reach out to her, but she hasn't responded. And so Angelica's like, try harder, because she can't let Shanae she doesn't want to let Shanae go. And so she's encouraging Matt, don't give up. You can do this. Go get your woman, please. I'm begging you. Go get her. Go get her back. So Matt's like, well, I've kind of moved on. In fact, I've made a connection with somebody else. I guess online he's reconnected with one of his old flames, someone that he used to see back in the day when he was, in his 20s. And so they've been chit chatting online, and things have been going really great. And Angelica's like, well, I don't really know how I feel about this, because I feel like we're cheating on Shanae. I'm like, girl, do you want Shanae? Like, what's happening? She goes, I feel like we're cheating on Shanae, and I don't feel right. And we're going to have to tell Shanae if you're moving on, if you're talking to somebody else. We're going to have to let Shanae know. And so Matt is kind of like, I've moved on from Shanae. That door is closed. That chapter is over. And I'm more interested in Marilyn. So Marilyn is someone from his past. And he's been having a really good time talking to her. And so they plan on meeting up with her because he wants to introduce Marilyn to Anjelica. Now, I thought it was really crazy how Anjelica, because she also tells Matt, when he was telling her about Marilyn, she also tells her husband, oh, you're trying to jump into another relationship because you're very brokenhearted over Shanae. Shanae really broke your heart. So you're trying to hurry up and find a rebound to try to get over Shanae. And it was like, it was weird to see a wife helping her husband process his feelings after another woman broke up with him. Like, she has to be the one to comfort him and encourage him and give him good sound advice to help him in this time of need, in this time of, him going through this breakup. And as a wife, she has to help him process that. And I thought that was really interesting. So we get to meet Marilyn. She says she's a witch or a goddess, but more so a witch. And obviously when they meet in person, you can still see that there's like an attraction between them. They're complimenting each other. Oh, that color looks nice on you. Oh, that color looks nice on you. They're complimenting each other. Angelica felt very uncomfortable meeting someone that used to date her husband. I'm like, okay, that makes you feel uncomfortable. Not the fact that he's having a whole relationship with Shanae and sleeping with Shanae, but meeting someone that he used to, that's what makes you feel uncomfortable. That's your boundary. That's where you draw the line. Okay. So Marilyn says that she's very interested in polygamy. She gave her little reasons of why she's interested in polygamy and why she thinks polygamy is great. And so she has an activity plan for them. So they all sit down around the table, and she brings out some candles, and then they proceed to molest the candles. It was really awkward to see them do these things to the candle. But anyways, whatever. So Angelica asks, what was their relationship like back in the day? And Marilyn says, well, it was a very sexual relationship, but it was also very unsatisfying to me. And Matt was like, what? And Angelica was like, yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad, but you were adequate, I guess. And Matt was like, adequate? Just adequate? And so, needless to say, after all of this weirdness, Matt said he's no longer interested in dating Marilyn, and he really, really, really wants Shanae back. Whatever's going on here with the Johnson family, Matt and Angelica, him and these trying to find a sister, them trying to find a sister wife, and Angelica encouraging him to, whatever this is for Matt, it's all sexual. It's all sexual. I don't think Matt is really trying to connect or have any kind of deep emotional attachment to another woman. The same that he has with Angelica. I think Matt is just looking for another woman to have sex with when Angelica can't or won't. I swear to God, that's what I think this is what this is all about. Because when Marilyn was like, well, yeah, it was adequate. And I know that anybody can be offended by that, but it's like, if you're really digging her and y'all are really vibing, well, then just show her that it's not adequate anymore. Just get to know. I mean, like, I don't understand. Like, do you want to have a connection with a woman, or you just want to sleep with her? Because as soon as she brought up the sex part and how it really wasn't up to par, he was through with her. Just like he was okay with Shanae having another love interest. But as soon as Shanae said, well, yeah, but I'm sleeping with my other love interest or my other friend, I'm sleeping with him, and he told me to stop sleeping with you, then he got all jealous and possessive. Oh, no, we can't have that. F him. So I think with Matt, it's just a sexual thing. And maybe Anjelica knows that. And like I said, I feel like Anjelica wants another woman to take the load off of her, another woman to satisfy her oversexed, high libido husband. That's what I think. Y'all let me know what y'all think is really going on between Matt and Anjelica. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video if you like this content. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.